Hello everyone, welcome back to the Reese's Writing YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing a February recap. What I read, what I watched, a little bit of an update of the channel, what's to come in March, and we'll start off with the updates. I've finished Warehouse 22 fully in the main story. So you go. I put a little playlist, I guess, in the corner where you can watch it from start to finish. It is rough, very rough. It was probably, I think it might have been the first story that I wrote getting back into sort of writing. I had this idea for quite a while, throughout sort of university and things, and didn't know what to do with it. So I made it into a story, and there it is in the world for everyone to see. So if you want to go check it out, go check it out. And yeah, that means that there'll be no stories for probably quite a while. I haven't really I've got a few ideas for those type of stories brewing, but nothing fully fleshed out or finished. So I think that will stop for a while. So that means two just normal booky videos, film videos, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting these ideas that I have. I have quite a few ideas. Get more time editing those and also writing more, because I think Warehouse 22, it took quite a bit of sort of time to make it, to do the voiceover, to the edit, and also changing up editing the actual story to make sure it sort of worked, because there was some errors and things. So yeah, to look out for some more sort of actual videos rather than episodic audiobook type stuff. So let's get on with the February recap. What did I read? What did I read? So I started off February with The Mind Parasites by Colin Wilson. I read The Philosopher's Stone by Colin Wilson in January and really wanted to carry it on. I really enjoyed The Outsiders, which I read in December or November, something like that. Yeah, I wanted to read it. This is sort of part of my inner space fiction deep dive that I'm sort of wanting to do, where I focus or, put a lot of time into reading books that have themes about dreams and the brain, the mind, the sort of space that is in yourself, the worlds that can be created in your mind, and how vast it can be, how vast it can feel, and how vast it can be written down as. The Mind Parasites is about two sort of scientists that discover some sort of statues and some older race in like an obelisk type thing, and but they sort of also discover these parasites that have been affecting the human race for centuries, and he tries to understand what they are, how he can stop them. Yeah, I enjoyed it for the most part. I think it sets up the idea of the mind parasites very well, and the sort of theory behind it all quite well. I think that's what Colin Wilson does really well, is the sort of theological side of things, the idea of what the mind is, and philosophically the problems happening in modern society as well, of people being more mundane, like they're becoming much more thinking and less experiencing the world, and the how like society has sort of damaged people. But this plays into the idea of there being parasites that infect the brain and can manipulate that people to feel depressed and lethargic and ill, and he tries to fight that with his powers and scientists. I wasn't a big fan of sort of the resolution, how it was dealt with, how the Maoan parasites were sort of challenged, and the final sort of resolution to it was a bit not great in my opinion. But the book overall was fun, and I'd give it 3.5 stars. Yeah, go check it out. It's a great cover. Look at that cover. Fantastic. And then I read a book club book called The Love of My Afterlife by Kirsty Greenwood. Shiny. This is a very sort of popular romance, completely different from The Mind Parasite. I think completely two completely different sides of the spectrum in terms of books. This is sort of comedic with like, it's like a rom-com type dealio. This woman that's like socially inept and socially isolated, stops drawing and stops enjoying life. She dies, gets sort of sent to the afterlife, which is called something or other, and comes to like a afterlife therapist that wants to sort of ease her into the afterlife, and then she like rushes out. She gets a bit like, what the hell's going on, get me back. And she spots a guy who's a fitty who's waiting in the waiting seat or whatever, and they like lock eyes, and it's like love at first sight type thing. And she sort of wiggles her way into this idea of the therapist giving her one last chance to go back to real life to find this guy, and kiss the guy within 10 days. And if she does, she gets to stay back in real life, and then all sorts of shenanigans, very like objective, like just challenges keep popping up, and barriers of different things that she has to fucking jump over and do just to get to this person. It was quite cringy. There was a lot of moments that I was like, oh god, please stop. But I don't know, it was a easy read. Felt like chocolate buttons. I said this in my sort of halfway in the month update. It felt like sort of chocolate buttons, like you eat them and you're like, oh, these are quite good, I'm enjoying it. And then you're at the end of the bag, you're like, why the fuck did I eat these? I feel like shit now. And I kind of get the similar vibe with this book. So yeah, enjoyable read. There was some good parts and there were some bad parts. I'd give it 2.5 stars. 2.5 stars. And then I went on to The Continent of Lies by James Morrow. I did a whole review of this on my channel, but it is about it's like a distant future, where humans have expanded across the Milky Way, and they have harvested these apples that can hallucinatory type effect, where people dream what the scientist behind the apple has deemed the story, if that makes sense. I said it better in my review, but it like these Dreamweavers can create these stories and film like things and then put them into the apples, and they harvest them and then give them out for people to enjoy, like films or TV or books or what have you. And we follow a dream reviewer, and he comes across this apple that changes his thoughts about cafaples, which cafaples are the name of the apple. And he tries to stop this apple, which he finds changes himself and changes other people for into like really weird stuff. I enjoyed it. I thought it was quite good. The idea of these cafaples and what they can do to people, and how the culture has changed because of these apples. It shows how impactful media is on culture, and also how it can line up with culture and show people's preferences in terms of entertainment, and what people get kicks out of is quite a fascinating thing to study and understand, which I thought this book did really well. I think the characters aren't very good, especially the main ones. They lack a little bit of personality, a little bit of interest, and a little bit more development. I feel like some of them are not very well developed or not developed at all. They are sort of vessels for this story. And I like the world. The world's quite unique. It's quite interesting. It's a bit more flamboyant than some space science fiction worlds. A bit more vibrant, and like there's loads of different sort of worlds that have like almost fantastical type buildings and worlds that all sort of change depending on the planet, which I found quite good. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to reading more James Murray. I have the Eternal Daughter, I think it's called, which I will like to read next, and sometime soon. Yeah, I'd give it 3.5 stars. Is that what I gave it in the review? I hope so. Yeah, and then the next one I read is the Birds, Art, Life, Death by Kyo McClure. This is sort of mainly, it's biographical, like it's autobiographical. I think that's when they do it themselves, which seems a bit, I've always thought that was a bit like weird. How is it? It's not auto then, is it? It's like a manual biography. You've done it yourself. Auto would be, getting someone to do it for you, right? Anyway, this is about Kyo McClure as she goes through a year discovering birds and bird watching, and the sort of creative endeavors of flow she has through these birds, and like very philosophical look on life and what the problems with life is, like depression, getting out, like her dad is very ill, so it's about that, the troubles she has getting over that, and like how bird watching can help, and also the sort of revelations that come from bird watching, and like living in Canada, where she doesn't really enjoy the feel of it anymore. She's getting a bit restless, but she comes across bird watching, and like it changes her mind about Toronto. So it's set in Toronto. It's also about her sort of questioning her relationship with her husband and her children, or like the problems with being a mum, and like those sort of things. I feel like it's very straight line. It's very simple, like contained. There's not much to sort of really grasp onto in terms of interest. It's much more of a sort of rolling through a year, discovering things, discovering like the fascination with birds, what the whole thing is with bird watching, and how it sort of plays with everyday life. Um, and like it's very good. I think there's, for me, I found that there was a lot of lists, there is a lot of lists of people or authors, like authors or books or films, or like just felt kind of like filler. I don't know if it was kind of like a way of sort of justifying her like view on a certain aspect of like bird watching. Like there's creatives that have very famous authors or painters or whatever that have some bird type hobby, and there's a list of them, but there's also lists of music, and I glazed over that. I couldn't really care. I knew what she was getting at, so I don't know what's the point in putting lists down. So I thought that was a bit of a issue, but I think I thought it was quite good. Made me sort of think about like wanting to travel places, just going on little adventures, and like wanting to do more than like what I've been doing in the past, and sort of trying to travel to different places, experience different things. Not birdwatch though, because I'm not a huge fan of birds. I think our family have a history with not liking birds. Yeah, but I appreciate them. I appreciate, how they're just flying around and looking pretty cool, but I wouldn't go out and birdwatch. That's just me. But yeah, I thought it was pretty good to enjoy, pretty good to read and like understand certain things, and learn new things, I guess. Like philosophically, it was quite interesting, sort of a very simplistic view on life, almost like a Buddha type thing, which leads me straight on to my next book. But yeah, I would give Art Bird Life Death 3 stars. And then we have my final book that I read of this month, Siddhartha or Siddhartha, I'm not sure, by Hermann Hesse. This is my first Hermann Hesse that I've read. I have other books. I have Steppenwolf. I have The Glass Bead Game, that I would really like to get to. This was good. It was nice and short, very short book. We see him at the beginning. He's sort of following a specific Buddhist like outlet, I think, the Brahmin, I think that's them, the Brahmin. I think his father has something to do with it, and he wants to leave. I think he wants to leave. He wants to experience other life and other different lives, and just experience what it's like to be a normal person. Because he's been meditating. He doesn't eat much. He's like goes on pilgrimages, and he lives a very religious life that's following the guidance of this Brahmin. He also goes to see the Buddha, and like talks to him about what his plans are, and understanding that, which I thought was quite interesting. And then he goes on this adventure. He comes across this boatman who takes him across the river. It's very like it's something you would read in the Bible, or like religious script. Is a very religious experience. There's lots of like visions, and him sort of staying in one place for a long time. Him, like, he does his gambles, he has sex, he learns about love, and but he also philosophically um, learns to sort of over time realize the problems with these things, what changes about him, what changes in him about what changes in him because of these things that he's come across in this new sort of town. And I thought it was very well done, very succinct, very well done story. It wasn't long. I think the philosophy ideas and things are very in keeping with the Buddhist ideology of the nature around you is a part of you. Every living thing, every piece of matter is a part of you, and you'll be recycled into a new life when you die, and reaching nirvana, and it teaches it goes through that all stuff really well in an interesting way. I didn't feel too bored by it at any points. It was just a good solid story. I'm interested in more of his sort of, I think Steppenwolf is a lot less religious, although it'll have elements of this. I'm sure, I think Hermann Hesse is very explore Buddhist ideologies and philosophical knowledge about Buddhism and this sort of feeling of displaced people that don't feel part of society. It was the outsiders that made me sort of want to pick up Hermann Hesse, and the others is sort of looking at Hermann Hesse. So yeah, I enjoyed Siddhartha. It's quite a quick book. I think it might be quite a good book for you to get into Hermann Hesse if you wanted to pick up one of them. I'm sure Steppenwolf is also pretty good to get into him. Not sure about the Glass Bead Game. I think that's more sort of science fiction-y, which I'm interested in seeing how he deals with that. I enjoyed it, and I'll give it 3.5 stars. And then we have what I watched. What did I watch in February? I did not watch any. Did I watch anything in the cinema? I did not watch anything in the cinema. I'm going through less of a modern day cinema things. Nothing's really stuck out in terms of films that have come up in the cinema. I kind of want to watch The Brutalist, but that's already gone, I think. And Nora, of course, because that won Best Picture. But besides those two, I'm not that bothered, and I'll probably just wait until they come on a on-demand thing. But what did I watch in the month of February? I watched 500 Days of Summer, which is a sort of romance about Joseph Gordon-Levitt falling in love head over heels with Zooey Deschanel in a greeting card company. It's got some cool sort of animation stuff, which I didn't really expect from it. It's done in an interesting way where it sort of jumps back and forth in time to see this relationship start off really high, and you get the honeymoon phase, and then you go to the end and it's like they're falling out and they're not as interested in each other. So I found that quite interesting, the sort of interplay, and it sort of correlated with the location. Like at the beginning they would go to this location and be really happy, and then further down the line they would go to the same location and it would be different, which I thought was really quite interesting. But it was all right in terms of story. I didn't like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character or his acting. Maybe I thought it was really over the top, like too much over the top. 500 Days of Summer was directed by Mark Webb. I'd give 500 Days of Summer. How many times do I have to say it? 3.5 stars. And then I went on to Her by Spike Jonze, who there is Joaquin Phoenix and Keira Knightley's in it, and some other people that I'm unaware of. This is about Joaquin falling in love with this AI who's voiced by Scarlett Johansson. Like, there's this new operating system that everyone sort of gets, and it's this philosophical look about what's sort of good and bad about a relationship with an AI, the sort of philosophical problems behind that. Is it really someone you could fall in love with, or is it something just understanding you and learning to love you rather than you finding that person and just sort of gelling? It's quite an interesting idea of like what is it really love? Is it does the AI really love Joaquin Phoenix? And yeah, I thought it was an interesting philosophical idea. I think science fiction and romance do go well together, and I think that might be quite a good video topic. It's very nicely shot, a lot of bold colours. I feel like IKEA. This is the IKEA film. The IKEA film. That should be my review of this film. I wasn't a big fan of Joaquin. It felt kind of, I don't know, it just felt a bit too amateur-y. I don't know if he was trying to go for that, like, sort of nervous, like, I don't know what to say. I think this is maybe a Spike Jonze problem, actually, because I think Spike Jonze, he did Adaption, other ones. He did Being John Malkovich, and the main characters all have this sort of nervous, socially, like, awkwardness, which is really quite annoying to a degree, like quite grating at times. And I think Joaquin's way he's done it is a bit too not great. It just felt a bit off. So I think that was the main problem with it. I think it ended really quite well as well. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good. What did I give it? I felt it was really hard hitting, like in terms of the ideas. Quite sad, very sad, about this modern life, like people becoming overwhelmed by technology and social media, like people, just living their life off of these things rather than living in the real world. I'd give it 4 stars. And then I watched Dance Craze. Did they put a director? Joe Massot. This is a sort of TV documentary, but has become more than just that. And it's about the two-tone era of like late 70s, early 80s, with the Specials, Madness, Body Snatchers, Bad Manners, The Selectors, The Beat, and it's pretty much a concert film. It's basically they're live doing these concerts in different venues, and they sort of interchange between the different bands as they play their sort of famous songs, and it's just really lively, really fun to watch. Like, I love two-tone. I got in really with ska, and then over time developed a love for two-tone or like rock steady beat type stuff, the selectors, the specials, that sort of thing. And I've just grown to love them, and this is sort of a pinnacle of it. I would have loved to have been in those concerts, in these events, just being a part of this sort of emergence of this music scene, because I love it so much. And I really enjoyed watching it, sort of living vicariously almost, of this sort of time capsule of this quite small time in culture, like this short time where ska was huge, two-tone was huge in Britain, and this sort of buzz around it, this whole thing, and how young people have flocked to it. And you can just see, how much enjoyment there is going on. It feels fresh and new, and like sort of this sort of cultural shift to a much more left, or like racially equal, and like a lot of good vibes and good ideas behind two-tone and stuff. And great. I gave it 5 stars and a heart for good measure. I haven't done that before. Haven't given a film a heart, I don't think. But great. Fantastic. And then I watched Office Space by Mike Judge. I thought it was pretty meh. I wasn't a big fan of the comedy. Some of the comedy hit, some of it didn't. It felt like it went on a bit too long. There was some good parts. I think the story, the way it develops, is quite good. But overall, I felt I lost interest, stopped caring all that much. And that's all I'll say about the film. I gave it 3 stars. I don't know if I'd give it 2.5. Maybe I would, but I didn't really. It just didn't gel with me. The music was really good. I enjoyed the music. And then I finished the month off with La Haine, which is a French film by any minute now. Who did this film? Mathieu Kassovitz. So this is about the police and the sort of power that they hold over people, the sort of power struggles that happen during riots, during high tension points in towns and cities, with these like working class people that are struggling to make a living. So they get into bad times, get into like gangs, and then they riot. They like go against this police that are pretty much controlling situations, and having this massive power surge almost. And it's about these 3 friends that sort of go around this place in France. I'm not sure where it is exactly in France, but they go around this place with lots of big apartment buildings where families live, in this hotbed of gang violence and civil unrest. Whenever a policeman comes, they just have this uneasiness about them, and this tension is really boiling, which is really well done in this film. And the sort of violence and the like, I think the blurring of boundaries is really well done. Like, where did the violence start? Where did that spark happen? It was really well done in this film. And it feels alive. It feels, this sort of bubbling anger, this sort of youth revolution. I think it's just a really well done film. There's a lot of amazing camera shots, which I didn't really think or see coming. But there's drone shots or high crane shots that loom over the the city or the apartment buildings sort of as this like just out of nowhere type really good shots. And the friendship between the three, the sort of development of this character who's started off as this big tough guy, and then he sort of develops and like, or he comes across these struggles of like whether or not he should do something, acting such a bad guy or like a big guy, a tough guy can, come into trouble, or like can make you fall out with friends. And yeah, they sort of go off to Paris, which I thought was I felt a bit of a sort of change, like a beat change type thing, where they go into Paris, they see the class struggle, the class changes between them and like higher classes when they go to a art gallery, and the sort of social changes, the behavioral changes, which I found really interesting. But it did feel a bit like a slowdown, and it did take up quite a bit of the time of the film, but I think it was very marginal like problem. I still enjoyed the part in France, and it was a really good segment to allow these characters to grow without just having this constant fight between them and the police. So yeah, I really enjoyed it overall. I thought the ending was really good as well. The way it ended was amazing. Yeah, go watch it if you haven't already. And also the beginning is also very good, with lots of sort of montagey, archival shots of riots and historical riots and protests. Yeah, I would give it 4.5 stars. And that is all that I watched and read in February. What did you watch and read in February? Let me know. What is your favourite thing that you watched or read? Let me know. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Like, subscribe, do all that stuff. And yeah, see you in the next video. Bye.